This is a Health Masterclass. We're specifically going to be talking about probiotics and digestive enzymes and the two products that doTERRA has, which is PB Assist and Terrazyme. So I think, as a lot of you probably would know, there's been a lot of research in recent years regarding the gut microbiome and how the gut is linked to nearly every facet of our health. So in the past, maybe, a lot of you would just think, oh, your gut's just about digestion and you can have stomach pain or such. But we know so much more now about how it affects skin, especially like mental health, food cravings, and aches in the body, all sorts of things. We're learning more and more about the importance of this important system in the body. So one in particular that I mentioned, mental health. It's been interesting in recent years how they've found a lot about the neurotransmitters being produced in the gut and how those affect our mental health. So we really want to do all that we can to make sure that our digestive system is as healthy as possible. And as we recognize the great impact it has in, immune system, mental health, in so many different things. This is just talking about how the messages sent from the gut affect the brain. And the other thing that's very interesting is the number of microorganisms that are on our body. It just fascinates me. I heard someone say that we have more cells that are more non-human cells on our body than human cells. At first, it kind of sounds a little scary, like, how could that be possible? But, we have microorganisms all over our skin and then in our intestines, and the numbers are huge. And so it really matters that we are taking care of that. It's kind of like a rainforest, I guess you could say. And we want to make sure there's a lot of, they found that the more diversity, the healthier it is. And we want to make sure that we're putting things into our body that are helping that microbiome remain diverse and healthy. So what's happening in our in our time as far as what could be disrupting our microbiome? And I found these things particularly interesting. I think we all know that antibiotics have a big impact on our gut, and that they can wipe out all of our bacteria, not just the bad ones, but all of them, even the good ones. And yes, antibiotics are helpful, but they also have side effects, which I said is really just eliminating all of the microorganisms in our gut. And I had an instance that happened to me personally when I had one of my children in the hospital. I got a bad infection. And so I was given a very strong antibiotic, which, is good because probably saved my life, right? So they gave me that. But then it caused me to have pseudomembranous colitis, and all the lining of my intestine started to come off. And I was just bleeding profusely, as was my baby who I was nursing. And so then they gave another antibiotic to try to fix that. So I know in the past, I remember long ago that I always say, make sure you take some yogurt after you've had an antibiotic, and that's can be helpful. Other things that, you might not have heard about as much as mouthwash. That's not all mouthwash, not like doTERRA mouthwash, but the kind of mouthwash that maybe you see more often over the counter in the stores that has alcohol in it that can kill the microbes in your mouth. And it's really important. The microorganisms actually help prevent dental decay. And so I have been trying to take some of those to help, my teeth. And I definitely don't want to wipe those out with a mouthwash with alcohol in it. Hand sanitizer and antibacterial soaps can also destroy good gut bacteria. And so, you can use just regular soap, or the doTERRA natural hand sanitizer would be a better choice. Drinking chlorinated water. Have we ever thought about that? What is that? It's nice that we have, clean water that doesn't have bacteria in it, but think about what that chlorine is doing to the microbes inside of your gut. And I'd really recommend that if you are on a city water system, that you are filtering your water at the source as it comes into your home, or at the faucet where you're drinking the water, to make sure that you're filtering out that chlorine. And then meat products. I thought this was amazing. 80% of antibiotics sold in the US are for animals in agriculture. So even though you're not maybe prescribed an antibiotic by your doctor, you are taking antibiotics if you're eating meat and dairy. So, and then common medications. They found a lot of medications that are disrupting the microbes in our gut. And the ones that are having the biggest impact are proton pump inhibitors, laxatives, antidepressants, and metformin. But there are also many others that are impacting that, our microorganisms in our digestive system. So let's talk about like foods that we're eating. Also, unhealthy diets with lots of processed, fatty, and sugary foods make it harder for the helpful microbes in our system to survive. And it's interesting that it can even cause them the stress that we put them under with all of the stuff that we're putting into our body, with these processed foods and all these additives and artificial ingredients and synthetic products, how it's putting them under so much stress that they're producing chemicals that are causing us to have other diseases, and also can create some autoimmune issues. So what we really want to do is look at some foods that would have some probiotics in them or some prebiotics. And just to remind people, probiotics are the microorganisms, and prebiotics is what the probiotics eat. So you want to feed the good bacteria in your gut with the prebiotics. So there's some that you can see here, a lot of fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi. And as over in Asia, everyone eats kimchi in Korea. They said every single person eats it. And they have it with every meal. I even had kimchi pancakes when I was over there. But it's great for you. So also pickled vegetables, but those not the ones that have the vinegar in them, but you can make sauerkraut yourself really easily. I would recommend trying that. It's a lot easier than you might think. So these are spirulina is a good one. That's an algae you can add. I love to add it to my smoothies. Kombucha has some. And anyway, this just kind of gives you an idea of some things to really help your gut be healthy. So doTERRA has a great product called PB Assist, and I wanted to spend some time looking at the label on that. And so we can understand what's in it, and when we want to share it with others, we can help explain. So CFUs, what are CFUs? CFUs mean colony forming units, and they indicate the number of viable cells. So 1 × 10⁹ for 1 billion, CFU, or 1 times 10 to the 10th for 10 billion CFU. So that's what that means. And it says that there's 5 billion CFU in the PB Assist. Prebiotics, like I said, that is the fuel for the probiotics. And doTERRA PB Assist includes that. So you see where it says near the bottom, FOS, short chain prebiotic. That is the I don't know if I can pronounce that right. Oligosaccharides. That is the food for the probiotics. So that's a great combination that it has. And so there's a new term that they're using when something contains both the probiotic and the prebiotic, they're calling it symbiotics. So this product of doTERRA is a symbiotic product. Another thing that is included, and I don't know why I don't see it in, oh, here it is. It's in the other ingredients. If you look in the other ingredients, the last one, chlorophyllin. I wanted to know what that was, so I looked it up, and chlorophyllin is made from chlorophyll. It's a green pigment that is present in plants, and it's used in alternative medicine as an aid to reduce the odor of urine or feces. So I thought that was interesting. I did not know that before. So that's another added benefit that we get. And then silica is an important trace element. That is also beneficial for health in the plant form. So that's what's in PB Assist. And then I just wanted to briefly say, you know, there are 7 core probiotics, and they're listed in red there. And when you see a bacteria probiotic listed, it will have a genus, a species, and a subspecies, and then it will have a strain designation. So as they do more research, they're finding a specific strain that will have a benefit. So sometimes people are looking for a specific strain, and they're doing more and more research to, you know, and just uncovering more and more information about these. And so it's good to kind of understand how they're labeled and how they're categorized. So I was looking at the National Institute of Health and what they were saying about probiotics. And they had some studies. And from what I was seeing is that the studies were really variable, because when they do the studies, there's all different companies that have probiotics, and they're all a little different. And so one study will use one kind, one will use another, one will use another. And so they get really different results, you know, depending on, you know, what strains they're using and how many. And so it's hard to get a lot of definitive information right now, but the studies in general are showing some positive benefits for antibiotic-induced diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, lowering high cholesterol, that's the really, really high cholesterol, eczema in children, and acute diarrhea in children. And then if you go on to Medline, they looked at the effectiveness ratings for lactobacillus acidophilus, which is one of the ones in PB Assist. And they're saying, you know, they're usually, you know, they're not going to say it has any possibility of effectiveness unless it has really strong results. So it's good that they're finding possibly effective for diarrhea in people who are taking antibiotics, overgrowth of bacteria that can happen for women, a digestive tract infection that can lead to ulcers with H. pylori, a long-term disorder of the large intestines, irritable bowel syndrome. So there's a lot of studies out there that are showing really good benefits of these probiotics. And I like this little quote up here at the end, when the gut microbiome is not balanced, disease risk is higher. A gut that is rich in healthy bacteria may help reduce the risk of inflammatory diseases. They're also saying sometimes it can help with cancer and obesity and other things. So it's just really important that we're keeping that healthy. And so here's the PB Assist, and on the doTERRA website, it says that it promotes a positive balance and proliferation of beneficial bacteria, which is what we really want to do, and maintains that balance so we don't get a overgrowth of some bacteria that are harmful. It supports healthy digestive and immune system function, supports GI tract health in the intestines and colon, and optimal metabolism and food absorption. So I just got invited to this. I just added this because I just got invited to this webinar, and I thought it was interesting and it applies to what we're talking about. They're finding new information about COVID long, what do they call that? Long COVID, and how it's related to disease of the gut, and that the symptoms may result from dysbiosis of the gut and respiratory microbiome. And so I just thought that was interesting, just to let you know, they're finding new things all the time about how the balance, we have of the bacteria in our gut and how we keep that healthy is having many effects on our body. And this is just another one that they have recently been doing research on. Okay, so one question that came to my mind about the probiotics is, how much are we supposed to take and how long do I take it? I don't know if anyone else has that question, but I'm always wondering, like, should I just take it every day? What should I do? So here's the recommended dosages from doTERRA. They say to take 1 capsule 3 times daily with food for 10 days each month to promote the colonization of friendly digestive flora. So they're recommending 1 capsule 3 times a day for 10 days each month. And I didn't know that before, so that was helpful. Also, if you're having more digestive issues, you can take it over longer periods until those symptoms are resolved. You can take it as a boost when you're traveling, especially to maybe a foreign country. And then you can take it just like once a day to maintain for digestive maintenance. And then I read in another article that they recommend that you take it in the evening because you want it to stay in your body as long as possible. Usually things are just moving through all the time, right? And you have, usually people have a bowel movement in the morning. So you want to do it, you want to take it so that it's going to remain in your gut. The longer, the better. All right. So are there, I don't know in the chat if there's a question. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see these before. Look at this. Okay, it looks like they're getting answered. Someone asked what a proton pump inhibitor was, and they're meds that reduce acid reflux. Thank you. Yeah, they're a very common medication given to people when they have heartburn or acid reflux, and they want to lower your acid, which can cause some issues with digestion. And apparently with disrupting our microbiome. Are probiotics still in cooked kimchi? That's a good question. I think like when they put it in the pancakes and they cook it, probably not, because it would be damaged by the heat. But if you're just eating it, not cooked would be best. Yes. So you need to have them not cooked is best. Definitely. Thank you for pointing that out. Is it Adrian? I think it's Adrian. Okay. There's one more. Okay, good. All right, digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes can decrease as you age, and they can be reduced due to inflammation or damage that you have in your pancreas or your small intestine. There's different reasons why our digestive enzymes can be decreased. So we're going to talk more about that. I think this got out of order, so I'll come back to that. Okay, let me go. know if I can go back. I'm going to go back to this one actually. Okay, yeah, this is, sorry, that one slide was out of order. On the probiotics, there's a couple of cautions to know. First of all, if you're sharing this with someone and they're saying, oh, it's making me have diarrhea or I'm having gas or whatever, you let people know that that's normal when they're just trying it for the first time. They can have some symptoms like that for a few days as their body adjusts. And it shouldn't be extreme or anything, but it's common to notice a little bit of digestive symptoms. And so maybe they could start out a little slower, maybe just take, one a day, kind of work up and see how it goes for them. And also whenever anyone is pregnant or nursing, we always ask them to speak with their physician. And just a reminder not to use them if they're open or broken, because on the, if I have one, that there's one section that has the prebiotic and one is the probiotic, and one's a liquid and one's a powder. And when it's broken inside of you, that's what you want, but you don't want it to be broken before. That would damage it. So if they're broken, definitely don't take them. Okay, so now for digestive enzymes. I really liked this diagram because it shows the different parts of the digestive system and where the different digestive enzymes are functioning and what they do. So we need some acid we need acid in our stomach to break down food. That's really important. And pepsin helps to break down, you can see the ones that are breaking down proteins and the ones that break down carbohydrates and the ones that are breaking down fats. So these, if you don't have a good balance and you don't have enough, you're not going to be, you're going to have difficulties like lactose intolerance, or you can have the gluten issues. You can have issues with, when you're trying to eat carbohydrates. It's so important to have these enzymes in our body that are breaking down the food and making them available for our cells. Okay, so Terrazyme is the product that doTERRA has that includes digestive enzymes, and as it showed in the picture before, there's many. It has so many of a good balance of all these different enzymes. Some that break down proteins, some that break down carbohydrates and lactose and starches and gluten, and it also has a little bit of betaine hydrochloric acid, which helps to lower the gastric pH and balance the stomach acid production, because that is important to have that to break down food. And sometimes if you're having heartburn, it doesn't always mean that you have too much acid. It could mean that the food is just sitting there in your stomach and it's not getting broken down and moving along. And so, when the food goes in and your body has the acid and the pepsin and what it needs to break down, and then it moves along and it doesn't come back up. Okay, so why again do we need enzyme supplements? I always wonder that, like, why isn't our food enough? What's going on with our society, with our food? Why are we needing all these supplements? Well, this is some really good answers to that. First of all, if we're eating fresh, raw foods, like you said, the cooked ones aren't going to be so good for the probiotics, and they're also not good for, when you cook the food, it also destroys the digestive enzymes. So we want to have the fresh, raw foods that naturally contain sufficient enzymes for proper digestion. But when it's cooked and when it's processed, when it's sterilized and radiated and pasteurized and preserved and frozen and microwaved, like our modern food supply is, it renders enzymes inactive, or it alters their structures so much that they become useless to the body. So food processing also removes important vitamins, mineral cofactors, and enzymatic chemistry. So it's no wonder that we need these supplements. Okay, and also the body has a constant need to produce these digestive enzymes. And this can result in decreased levels of metabolic enzymes that are critical for optimal health and cell function, because your body's so busy trying to make these digestive enzymes because it's not getting them in the foods. And so then it's overwhelmed and it's not able to produce the metabolic enzymes. So one important metabolic enzyme is SOD, which protects cells from free radicals. And metabolic enzymes are also necessary for energy production, tissue growth and repair, management of toxic waste products, which we need that too. And so when we eat foods that are rich in food enzymes, our body uses fewer resources to produce digestive enzymes and has more capacity to create optimal levels of metabolic enzymes. So the more I study about this, the more I recognize the huge benefit that these enzyme supplements can be to our health. So you can get digestive enzymes from food, and here's some foods that have them. Now, of course, like we mentioned before, you wouldn't want to be cooking these foods. And so that would destroy it. But you know, if you want a sweetener, honey's a great one. Honey has digestive enzymes in it. The sauerkraut, here we are again with the sauerkraut and kimchi. Not only does it have the probiotics, it has the digestive enzymes. So maybe, you know, kimchi just smells terrible to you and you just don't think you could handle it, but maybe you would like to try to include one of these foods that you're not currently trying in your diet and give it a try and help benefit your gut. I don't know if there's a question right now. Can juicing help to balance enzymes, heartburn, and acid reflux? Can juicing? Well, juicing is a raw. Usually when you're juicing, it's raw. It's not cooked. And so, yeah, if you want to take any of these things and juice them, that's great. That would be wonderful. And honey in hot tea, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if I can tell you for sure one way or the other, but I mean, maybe you can put it in at the end and not try to limit the amount of heat and cook time that it would have, so you can have more of the benefit. Here's some other foods, and I like this picture because not only does it tell you the foods that have the enzymes, but it shows you what they do. So papain and papaya to break down proteins. Asparagus helping with the liver. Bromelain in pineapple helps digest proteins too. So if you have a certain issue that you're noticing, like when you're eating proteins or carbohydrates or fats, and you're noticing your body is just feeling a little sluggish, or if things don't, you know, you're not moving your food along, then you can know which food you could eat that could help support that. Okay, digestive enzyme supplementation. Here's some important things about that. So like we said, we need it to replace enzymes that are lacking in modern processed food diets. Cooking and processing of natural food does destroy enzymes. And I didn't know this one. This kind of surprised me. I did not know that there was some foods that were enzyme inhibitors, like peanuts, wheat germ, egg whites, nuts, seeds, beans, and potatoes. I eat a lot of nuts. And I didn't know that was an enzyme inhibitor. And I think there's no reason you can't eat those foods. Just recognize that, you know, they will inhibit enzymes, and so supplementing would be beneficial. Enzymes, you know, the supplementation will help have a healthy balance of bacteria and microbes in the gut, and can help treat leaky gut and other conditions like celiac disease by taking stress off the gastrointestinal tract. And we've talked about most of these, but just there's so many benefits that we can get from the supplementation. You don't have to have a serious disease or something to need to take it. It really can benefit everyone and improve our overall health. So on dosage with the Terrazyme, doTERRA recommends 1 to 3 capsules, and you take it. It says, they say with meals, but you know, it's best if you can take it just like at the beginning of your meal. Sometimes I'll forget and I'll have to grab it right after, but if you can take it just right when you're starting, it would be best. And you can try one and see how that does for you. And if that's all you need, that's great. And if you need more, you know, maybe you have a bigger meal or you're eating a heavier meal that could cause some constipation or whatever, you just, you know, you can take 3. So just pay attention to your body. It's so important to listen to your body and be aware of it and help to give it what it needs. And so everyone's a little different.